welcome to episode 3 of the Drunken Arcanauts Golarion campaign. I am Clancy, and I'll be your DM today. This is a second edition Pathfinder campaign, and just as a heads up, we're still new to it. So we're probably going to get some stuff wrong, and we're going to roll with it, and I'm going to make some stuff up. And for the most part, we treat them as more guidelines than actual rules anyway. So that's that. If everyone wants to go around and introduce themselves, I'll do a recap, and then we'll get back into it.
Hi, I'm Risky, and I am playing Gene Remington, who is a human ranger? Yeah, human ranger, that's who I am. And yeah, I fight ghosts and stuff.
Have you?
He hates dead mouse.
My name is Mark. I play a goblin alchemist named Dr. Gish, who's very worried about everyone's experience with his healing abilities. Anyway.
I am Jay. I play Munar, a swashbuckler half-elf. I don't understand truly how the panache system works, so if you are a purist of swashbuckler, I would get over it now.
And my name's Claire, and I am playing Delicia Fairshadow, unconventional bullet dancer, and unconventional in that I do more damage to the party than I do to our enemies. But at least I feel bad about it.
Unequivocally a true statement thus far.
Well, it fits our party well.
It does. It works out. And that's, I mean, if you didn't do that, Gish wouldn't even be able to practice his doctoring.
Yeah,
yet.
who would I heal?
Exactly, 100%.
So where we left off, the party had gotten into the town of Etrin's Folly, also known as Plaguestone, the survivor of an awful plague. Well, the remnants of a city. Many of the houses are abandoned and empty, but it still exists, and there's still some population here, although it's evident that they're out in the middle of nowhere and are obscenely racist against goblins while also thinking themselves rather forward-thinking. It's fun in that awful, realistic way. So, other than that, the party accidentally, they met the town bully and knocked him out. They got into a big bar brawl with a bunch of farmers. No farmers died, but it did get a little out of hand before the sheriff showed up. Sheriff showed up and was sort of pulling people and arresting people, and Bort went and slipped him some money and said he's just going to take the party. You guys get your meal that he promised you after you saved the caravan on the road. And that's it. The sheriff bought it. It was like, fine, whatever. Eat your meal and get the fuck out of town before more problems come up. And where we are catching up at this point, you guys had just sat down at the table, and Bort quickly shouts out to one of the waiters, turnip porridge! I want turnip porridge, please. And gets them running off, and then turns back. Now the waiter's already gone. They took one order. And he's like, I'm sorry, friends. They sometimes run out. It's my favorite food. I just wanted to make sure I got some. I'm sure he'll be back. Think over what you would like to eat. And like I said, it's on me. I owe you for saving the caravan. And so I would like to take a minute and have each of you describe what you would order for a sort of brunch meal at a medieval tavern for your character.
Bacon. And pie, if they have any pie.
What type of pie?
Any kind of pie.
Any kind of pie that they'll bring you.
Yeah.
Okay. Bacon and pie. Okay.
Gish is a tree dweller, so it probably has to do something with like insects or raw foods, whatever's around. It doesn't even need to be from a medieval place. He might just head outside and look for things to eat.
Well, what would you actually order? Because I do want to have to deal with this waiter or waitress trying to complete what you request.
Maybe like a plate of grubs and insects. The best insects on that the house has.
The best insects.
Okay. Mornar?
Ham, steak, and eggs.
Steak and eggs and eggs and steak. Okay. And Delicia?
I'll be ordering just a stack of flapjacks and a side of hash browns. I know that it's like something that's not really good for me to eat, the hash browns, that is, but I mean, like, you got to treat yourself every now and then.
That you do. So the waiter comes up and is going to go in that same order. So bacon and pie, and the waiter's like, so we've got a blood pudding pie, we've got a shepherd's pie, we've got a rhubarb pie, we've got a dandelion root pie, we've got a potato pie, and we've got a wild berry pie.
I'll just take a slice of each.
Okay. And he doesn't care. He's immediately going to the back, or he's motioning to the back and letting them know a lot of pie. Next up was a plate of grubs and insects.
Yeah.
And he's like, did you want any food with that?
No, that is the food, of course. What do you mean?
Okay. And he just sort of writes down, and you can see he writes down the expired grain. And then we have ham, steak, and eggs, which he writes down without incident, and then says, how do you like your steak? Raw or bloody?
Well, I actually prefer it cooked.
Cooked? How cooked? Blackened or charred?
Lightly charred.
Lightly charred. Okay. I'm going to put down blackened, and we'll see what they can do. And then finally, flapjacks and the hash browns. And he goes, flapjacks. Are those like waffles?
I mean, like, they're like waffles, but they don't got all the little, like little holes in them and stuff. It's just kind of like flat.
We don't have any waffle irons that are flat. All of our waffle irons have a waffle pattern on them.
Well, I guess, you know what? I'm going to have to just go with the waffles then. I'll go ahead and take some waffles instead of the stack of flapjacks. Can I get a stack of waffles? Do waffles come in a stack?
We don't make waffles here.
Well, do you make hash browns?
Yeah. We've got hashed browns. We take them and we hash them and we brown them. And then we've got pancakes that some people eat instead of waffles.
Pancakes. Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and have a stack of pancakes and the hash browns.
Stack of pancakes. Did you want goat
much comes in a
butter
stack?
with that, or did you want pig butter with that?
Oh, pig butter. You know, I'll go sans butter today. Just gonna. I'm trying to watch my health a little bit. I know the
Okay.
hash browns are counterproductive to that, but you know, you gotta have something. A little give and take.
What'd you ask him?
How many pancakes come in a stack?
Because a stack's worth.
Okay, sounds fair.
And he holds up his hand, and he's like, three.
That sounds great. That sounds perfect. 3.
Okay. And he goes back to the kitchen nonplussed. He seems pretty burned out on food service. Never met anybody like that in my life.
I think that's not all he's burned out on.
While he's back there getting your orders ready, they bring out Bort's turnip porridge, and he's scarfing it down really quickly. In that same time, the woman who drops off the porridge asks if you'd like anything to drink. What would each of you like to drink?
Beer.
Okay.
Yeah, beer. It's early, right?
Do you have any kind of maple syrup beverage?
And the woman goes, we have a mead, which we could put some syrup in. That might be not terrible.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
And if I could just get a top off of my mimosa, it wound up getting a little sloshed during the kerfuffle earlier.
Okay. And she runs back and comes out very, very quickly with all of your drinks. The mead and syrup is a very thick mixture. I think it's about 30% syrup and 70% mead that's been stirred together as best they can. So it's almost syrup texture.
Perfect.
It tastes like syrup and mead. It's fucking awful. It burns and sticks all the way down.
Oh.
But they get you your drinks, and Bort, again, thanks everyone. Oh my gosh, it's just so good to have friends who I can trust to take care of the caravan. Sometimes these journeys can be dangerous. Let me tell you a story. And he goes into one of his true stories about his adventures. He goes, at one point, I had a caravan. There's only 6 of us in a single wagon. We were traveling through the high mountains in the high mountain roads in the Five Kings Mountains. And in our wagon, we had bundles of alchemical ingredients, some of the rarest in that area. Not rare everywhere. Some of them were, but there they didn't have access to these. And we were expecting to make a good haul. Only 6 of us, and a wagon. It was going to be a lot of money to split only 6 ways. But as we passed through the great fog walls of the Five Kingdom Mountains, you may have heard of them there. It feels almost like solid. As you walk, you just have to trust that your next step isn't off a cliff. And we pull the wagon and we trust the beasts, and we see a glowing figure. And finally, we begin to hear the ground slightly rumble. And we are beset upon by a 20-foot-tall man with glowing red hair. Turns out it's one of the fire giants of that mountain. He quickly called out a battle cry, and we tried to run, but it's too foggy. We couldn't see where we were going. We don't know where the cliff's edge is. He quickly caught us all and bound us in chains, threw us in the wagon, and drug the wagon, our goods, and us back to his camp. Now, after we reached the camp, he began to make a broth. He was throwing in various ingredients, and I could tell from my mastery of the alchemical and herbological arts that this broth was meant to be quite spicy. Being a fire giant, this made sense to me. So as he was making the broth, I came up with a brilliant plan. I mentioned to the others, "Oh, this fool," I said, just loud enough for him to hear. "He doesn't know about the legendary spiciness of those deep blue flowers we have in the wagon." The giant, of course, overheard us, and thinking himself quite clever, reached in and pulled out the flowers and said, "Who doesn't know what now?" I put my hand to my head and said, "Oh, we have been bamboozled again by the brilliant giant." And the giant threw it into the broth. And he didn't know that this was frost bloom. And when he tried the stew, it's it froze his mouth shut. And while he was trying to free his throat, it allowed us to retrieve our goods. And and he collapses at the table.
Didn't he say they were tied up?
Delicia stands up and is like, "Oh my gosh, what's going on?
Check,
Are you
please.
all right?"
Do you run over to look at him?
Yes.
He just drank too much. He's fine.
So you get over there, and when you look at him, you see that he's turned purple, and froth like foam is coming out of his mouth. He is looking at you. He's making eye contact with you for a second, and then you see his eyes begin to roll back in his head, and he's clutching at his throat. And you can hear his stomach gurgling loudly.
Doctor? You know, look at Goblin Man.
Oh yeah, yeah. Just let me take a look. I'll head over there. But Gish has no idea what he would be looking for or what he's looking at. He just knows his antidotes, and he can make alchemy. He's not an actual doctor in any way, so he just starts probing and touching weird random places that would make no sense. Nothing to do with his mouth or throat.
Or
I mean,
are you trying, or are you trying to look like you're trying? What's more important to you?
I think I'd try to look important and like I know what I'm doing, but don't actually know.
Okay, roll deception then instead of medicine.
In regards to that, I have training in medicine for today because I'm an old elf.
Okay, yeah. Roll medicine while Dr. Gish rolls deception.
My deception to 12.
My medicine is 17.
17. So you can confirm with the 17 medicine that he's not choking on anything, but his windpipe has swollen shut. Probably due to some sort of poison. You might be able to treat the poison if you've got a good enough medicine ability.
Dr. Gish, what do you think it is?
Also, I want to be clear.
Yeah.
A 12 is not that impressive. It's not totally wrong. It's not like nobody believes it. It's just it looks like you may be using outdated methods or something. Like, not quite the extent of trying to use leeches to balance the humors, but maybe a little more. You're like, maybe we should check the hair follicles for samples of what killed him, even though that would just take too long. It seems like you're just not quite realizing how urgent it is, rather than totally incompetent with a 12.
Fair. When Delicia says poison, though, I'll hand her an antidote, which I don't think it actually immediately helps. He probably should have taken it before the poison, but would help him with saving throws against poisons for 6 hours.
Okay. How are you gonna get him to ingest it?
What? I don't know how this antidote works.
I like Mornar
usually has to
and
drink
Gene
it.
are both just like,
I'm just eating pie.
I'm just kind of like stroking my chin, be like, I think the problem is that he's dead.
Well, he's gonna die.
For lack of a better idea, I'm just gonna pour it in his mouth and try to I guess use with an understanding of medicine that I'm trained in medicine. Would I be able to kind of almost like getting a dog to swallow a pill?
Understand that his throat being swollen shut will preclude him swallowing anything.
Gotcha.
What if we just slice open his throat and then you can pour it in there?
That
or right
will
into his stomach.
probably be worse.
Oh.
Okay, here's a knife.
And
I'm not gonna be doing that. I've already done that.
I'm gonna stand up and just go poke him in the throat with my
He's dead.
Fair.
He passes on, and as Delicia, you feel him go still, and with your medicine check, you can tell his heart has stopped beating. Although right beforehand it was beating like 1,000,000 miles a second, just like pump, 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 pump.
At least he passed while he was in a state of positive excitement,
Yeah.
He died doing what he loved, I hear.
telling
Eating
stories and
porridge.
frothing at the mouth.
And as you mention it, the townsfolk immediately begin to gather around and are like, "Oh, that's death. Oh, caravan. Somebody killed him. Oh, I don't know."
Who brought out the food?
That's a good question. The sheriff shows back up, kicking the door in, and he says, "Everybody, hold up." And he points to the crowd. He says, "Everybody who wasn't in this room when this man died, get the fuck against the wall." And they all move. You guys are still there, obviously. And he looks over the party. He can see the throat has been cut open from Mornar.
Okay.
And he can
Yeah.
see Dr. Gish and Delicia both kneeling next to him. And he's listening to some of the townsfolk, and he says, "It looks mostly like you folks are trying to help. Although I don't know about stabbing him in the throat. I suppose.
Gonna like try to wipe my knife off like it was me.
I suppose that could get around the obstruction. But I don't know medicine much. Seems like slitting somebody's throat's a good way to make sure they stay dead. Then again, I don't know."
Well, I don't think we could stab the windpipe if we were slitting his throat.
Did you stab his windpipe?
That's what I thought we were doing, so we could
It was
breathe.
by doctor's orders.
And he's like, "Now, see, I don't even know what a windpipe is."
Where your the wind goes into your lungs.
I think we're dealing with an individual who doesn't quite have a firm grasp of medicine.
He's feeling his chest. He goes, "I don't have no holes straight to my, what'd you call them? Lungs? I've seen that word. I've seen it before. I thought it was lungies. Is it lungs? Interesting. And anyway, here's the thing. This clearly was a murder. I can't be having murders in my town." He's thinking it over. "I guess I best start interviewing everyone. What can you tell me you saw before he died?"
He was telling us a story about some kind of situation with a fire giant. One of his tales of running caravans in the past. The meal that he had, he was having turnip porridge. Was that what it was, Mornar?
Mhm.
I wasn't paying attention.
It sounded gross.
Yeah, it definitely stood out for me. Not someone would normally, not something that I would normally want to get for breakfast. But I mean, to each his own, right?
The bowl is sitting there, only 3/4 of the way eaten.
I mean, we could test this, couldn't we? Dr. Gish, do you have any kind of way to be able to detect venoms or poisons and things?
I look very nervous at the suggestion and say, maybe the person who made this dish in the kitchen you should interview them. I think they probably had something to do with it.
I mean, well, yes, that makes sense.
I don't think it makes sense to touch the bowl or do anything with it. There's no testing needed. Just go talk to that cook. She was very shifty and pretty racist, as I recall.
And he's like, okay, yeah, it's not a bad idea. What else can you tell me? Were there any members of the caravan that you have reason to believe would want to hurt Bort here? Maybe he stiffed one of you?
No, he's a good guy.
Okay.
I think maybe
Interesting.
those twins did get a paper cut or something earlier, so maybe they got infection and they're not in their right minds. Could be that.
You see Ulf and Ulf are against the a wall. They were in the tavern at that time. The only members of the caravan who were in the tavern. Everybody else was off doing something else. And he goes, yeah, I'll have to have a talk with them boys. They seem a little off. But
No, it's Ulf.
and he's like, anyway, interesting. Well, just to be clear, y'all can't leave town. Not until this is all sorted up. And unless I get some real good information real quick, I'm going to have to wait for a circuit judge and an investigator to come and figure all this out. So you hold tight. Don't leave town none. And if you turn anything up that can help us figure out who did this, let me know, and maybe we can move things along a little faster. But until then, y'all best stay round town. I may have more questions for you.
Yes, sir.
And he begins to start interviewing other members of the tavern.
I'm going to be honest, guys. I do not have time for an illiterate sheriff to investigate a murder. So, my suggestion is we figure it out ourselves, or we just leave at some point in the night. It is just a sheriff after all.
Are we sticking with the caravan?
Well, the guy's dead,
Yeah, but the caravan's still here.
but there's no one left to pay us.
Should we just take the money?
You
Suppose
guys
we could
know that
Become in charge.
Hamley would inherit the caravan. The half-orc who was his second in command. She would inherit it along with all of his contracts and everything. And you're fairly confident that as soon as she gets the word that you guys can move again, she'll be happy to keep you on and move. But you haven't talked to her yet. You could talk to her if you wanted to get more information.
Is she in the diner as well?
Nope, she would be back at the caravan. She doesn't ever leave the goods alone if she can help it. With Bort out in town, she was definitely going to stay back there.
Well, we should probably at least tell her that he's dead.
We could, Steve. I don't know if that's the best way to take over the caravan, as you suggested, I think, if we talk to her. So
You're taking over a what now?
No, I was just listing options.
That is an interesting option. Is that what you want to do?
I don't really know what to do with a caravan.
I am not a business owner.
Yeah. Pretty content with what I do now.
You're the one who suggested this.
I was bringing up options.
I mean, I've owned a caravan before. It's more trouble than it's worth.
We could go
It's-
interview the chef or whoever, the cook, if they just take over this investigation. Fuck the sheriff.
That might be a good idea. I think, how's about this, guys? Because I got a hunch a little bit. Y'all go back out into the kitchen. I'm going to come around from the back door just to make sure that if there's anybody in there and they try beating feet like we've had happen in the past, that they run right into me. Sound good?
Okay.
I'll make sure I don't shoot anybody as well so that, y'all don't get hit in the crossfire.
That would be appreciated.
Yeah.
That's a good plan.
Okay. So, 3 of you are headed to the kitchen through the feed mill, and 1 of you is headed from the back door.
Yes.
You push your way through the crowd. Again, the sheriff is interviewing them one at a time. You hear them. Well, I heard him talking about a rare alchemical plant that he was eating, and it caused him to choke. He was literally telling people about it. And somebody else is like, that was a story that was entirely unrelated. And the sheriff is just sort of scratching his head, and he goes, what's alchemical mean? So, Delicia, you're going to take us a second to get around the building, but without the crowd, you'll arrive at roughly the same time. You open the back door as the party opens the front. And the kitchen is in complete disarray. It looks like all of the stuff from the table has already been just shoved in here on a placemat. They just took the whole thing, bundled it up, and dropped it on the floor in there. So the bowl of porridge, all of the remains of your guys' food, anything you hadn't eat, which also means there are maggots and grubs crawling all over everything now. There is all sorts of utensils just scattered on the counters and everything. And yeah, there's lots to look at, but there's no people in here at the moment.
I'm going to start just searching around to see if I can find anything that looks like maybe it could be like a poison or a poison leaf. I got forestry lore, so maybe like a plant I recognize or...
Roll me perception with advantage.
You said the cook is not in here?
Nope.
Perception
Look
with
for
advantage.
a vial with crossbones on it.
Non-natural 20.
Yeah, okay. You're searching and you're digging through and you're looking at all the herbs, and they're mostly just normal things. There's rosemary, there's thyme, there's some onions and garlic, and it just looks like normal plant stuff. But you keep catching this whiff of an odd floral scent, and there's no flowers anywhere. Eventually, you sort of turn and follow your nose, and the floral scent is coming off of the turnip porridge. And let's be honest, turnip porridge is not supposed to smell flowery at all. But nothing else in here smells like that. There is some ground clove and stuff in a mortar and pestle, but nothing that appears to have been used to poison the porridge is in this room, except for the poison porridge itself.
So you said there's nobody in the kitchen. Did people come out from the kitchen and go into the main room? Did we see the server go out there?
You don't see the goblin who was the one who actually delivered the food initially. It was
Finnick.
Finnick, yes, thank you. Finnick was the one who delivered the food to Bort, and then you have the waiter and waitress. The waitress delivered the drinks, and the waiter delivered the food to you guys. And then the cook is also out there. The cook being Amora.
So the goblin's the only one that brought food to him.
Yep, and he's missing. You don't see Finnick anywhere.
I'm going to go out and grab the sheriff and the cook and bring them to the back room.
Okay. The sheriff is coming along. Mostly he's just interested because you seem like you know what you're doing. And he clearly doesn't. He says something about, when my uncle gave me this job, he said there wouldn't be nothing like this. It's just he's just very happy somebody's taken charge.
Yeah.
So you bring Amora back. The party's in the kitchen, and Amora is just sort of arms crossed, looking around. She seems not super upset, a little dismayed, and the mess in the kitchen seems to be stressing her out. And then she sees Dr. Gish, and she goes, "Well, what about that little munchkin right there? Did he see or do something?"
I'm not going to respond to that. I'm going to redirect the conversation away from racism.
I'm just going to start trying, as I remember, to sing the song about how goblins are fun to kill, and let's see if she joins in.
It is a bit of a catchy tune. I'm not gonna lie.
And I'm going to be like, I'm curious at what you put in this soup to give it such a flowery smell that, smells like it might kill someone.
She's like, well, let me tell you, this is not just a case of food poisoning. Food poisoning doesn't kill people. And yes, I have somewhat of a history of food poisoning issues, and they say it's because I didn't wash my hands right. But I told them I don't need to wash my hands as long as I'm working with food I'm cooking, because that cleans the food. You cook it, and it cleans your hands when you put your hands in the food. But that's not what happened. Food poison don't kill like that. It kill you through dehydration. I know that because I've done that by accident twice.
Is there any cloth or rags around?
Cloth or rags?
Yeah, like fabric-y cloth.
There is a towel.
Ooh,
that
perfect.
is caked with grime and a little bit of mold.
There any water source around?
There's a bucket that
with water
has some water in it. Yeah.
I'm gonna look at the sheriff and I'm gonna be like, "Would you like to learn an investigation tool?"
Oh no.
The sheriff is like, well, first I'd rather question them before I learn about
You see, this is a questioning tool specifically.
I have legal lore, and I know that's kind of counterintuitive to what I know is going on, but would I be able to tell what he's talking about?
You would, and you would know that it is within this country equivalent to murder.
Oh shit.
Mornar, I'm gonna, as your legal counsel in this situation, advise you to refrain from what are the terms used for it? Enhanced interrogation techniques.
And the sheriff is like, wait, I heard that somewhere before. Advanced inheritation techniques. I don't really know what you're talking about, but Amora here, she made all the porridge for everyone, and I have two other people who ate the porridge, along with the kitchen tester to make sure that she's not food poisoning none anymore, and he's not sick either. So it has to have happened after it left the kitchen.
What about the goblin who delivered it?
And the sheriff goes, well, I'm not partial to pointing the finger at the goblins just because they happen to be nearby. On the other hand,
Looks down at Gish.
we do know how they are. They're a mighty suspicious folk. And he thinks, he goes, yeah, I think we'd best get Finnick out here to explain why he murdered that man. And Amora's like, and I thought he was a good little guy. It's probably because we didn't give him enough grubs the other day. And the sheriff's like, I don't see why he'd kill Bort for that. But they're on board. They think Finnick is probably what they need to do.
Definitely a suspect.
And Amora says, well, until this is not a crime scene and I'm allowed to clean it up, I'm going to my home. And Sheriff goes, okay, Amora, okay. Just keep your, head on a swivel in case that little goblin shows back up and goes to finish framing you or kill you when he failed for whatever it is you did to him. And she shakes her head and hustles off.
I'm gonna wait until she's out of earshot, and then I as a bounty hunter and tracker, I'm going to be like, I'm gonna give her a little follow. You guys think you can get some other stuff handled, or one of you all want to come with me?
That was my instinct too. I wanted to follow her.
Sounds good.
Okay, so two of you are following Amora. The sheriff is getting ready to go question Delma, the owner of the feed mill, to find out if she knows where Finnick lives.
Oh, I'll follow him then, because I want to hopefully find the goblin before he does.
Okay, and Mornar?
I'll stick with Gene.
Okay, so we'll start with Amora. You see Amora head out, and immediately, as soon as she gets outside, she turns and darts off, running down the road. She seems like she's in a hurry. You guys following her stealthily or just running to keep up?
I'm little. I would have to run. Usually, probably to go at normal speed compared to her.
Can I pick up Gish and carry him with me as I stealthily move and try to follow?
Roll athletics.
Oh. 25.
Whoa.
Okay, yeah, you can do that.
I tuck him under my arm and just kind of carry him.
She rolled tragically poorly on her perception, so you guys are probably going to be fine, but I'll need a stealth roll at disadvantage from you as well.
Ooh. I got a nat 1, which puts me at a total of 8.
But if it's not 10 below the TC.
The good news is it's not a crit fail.
Okay.
Because she got a 4. Which means you got a nat 1, but you still had a 7 to it.
Yes.
Which means you beat it.
I love how you're super stealthy, but also humongous.
Yep. Comes with the territory. You got to know how to keep light footfalls when you're this big.
You see her run to a house nearby, and she immediately is like, she's just banging on the door real fast, real hard. And you hear a voice like, what? What is it? What is it? And they crack the door open, and she darts inside really quick. And you've managed to keep up. Are you going to the door? Are you searching around the house? What are you doing?
What are we looking at, like, for a yard? Is it like, when you say house, is it like, does it have full coverage around it that we could walk around anywhere?
It has a yard that goes about 4 feet out from each wall before a low sort of not quite a fence. It looks more like logs, just a large log that outlines the yard.
Are there any windows?
There is one window, and it appears to be cracked.
Okay. Gish, I'm going to try to get closer. You want to come up with me? I'm sorry, Dr. Gish.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't sure you were talking to. Yeah, let's go.
Okay. As you guys get up to the window, we jump back to Mornar and Jean. Mornar and Jean, you're with the sheriff, and he's gets back out into the feed mill and says, Delma, get your ass out here. We got to talk about your staff and their unfortunate accident. Delma rather quickly shows up and begins to walk back towards the group and the sheriff. She seems actually distraught. And she's like, what can I do for you, Sheriff? Well, I'm going to need addresses for every one of your employees. I see some of them ain't here. Who's not here? Well, just Finnick, actually. Where's his domicile? And he looks back for approval from Mornar and Jean when he says domicile.
I'm going to have my arms crossed looking important just to shaking my head.
He's like, I learned that word from a city lady. And Delma's like, Finnick? Finnick doesn't have a house. Like, all right.
Where's he squat?
She goes, well, I know that, let's think here. Sometimes he sleeps in the barn. I told him as long as he doesn't sleep there enough that the horses start to smell like him, it'll be fine.
Anywhere else?
Otherwise, I've caught him in the crawl space underneath here before when it was real cold, and he would go near where the hearth is because it makes it a little bit warm. But most of the time, he just sleeps outside like he should. And she goes, but you don't need to worry about him. He's a good little guy. He wouldn't do this. He couldn't. They're not bright, them goblins. This is a mastermind of a plot.
Do you know anyone who would want to do this?
No, Bort was he was a staple. He's been back and forth here for 22 years. We've seen him every year for almost a quarter of a century.
I want to roll to see if I can tell whether or not she's like lying.
Okay.
What that would be, I'm looking for what it would be. Would it be perception? No.
I believe it is perception.
Is it just perception?
There's no insight or anything.
I don't see an insight. 22.
22. She seems actually upset. She seems confused and distraught. And while what she's saying about Finnick isn't very nice, she does seem to genuinely believe that Finnick wouldn't have done this. But the barn is the only place she seems to think he might be.
All right, I guess we can start with the barn.
And Sheriff scratching his head. He's like, I got a lot of other folk here to question. There's Farmer Bob and Farmer Bill and Farmer Joe and Farmer
I'm just going to walk out.
Joe and Farmer. He's still listing them off when you leave. Mornar, do you follow Gene, or do you want to listen to all the farmer names?
I'm not going to listen. I'm just going to give him a piece of advice.
Okay.
If I were you in the future, I would keep your questioning
Farmer
and your
Marty and
investigation
Farmer
relevant.
Bobby
And I just walk away whether
Farmer
he's listening
Sue
or not.
Bob, Farmer, and he continues. He's listing off every person he knows. He's rather impressed with all the names he's memorized. And you guys go outside and head to the barn. Let's see here. We go back to the other two sitting in the just outside the windowsill, and you can hear God, I can never remember her name, Amora, talking to who turns out to be Idra. Idra is talking to her, and Amora's like, so the sheriff is questioning everybody. Oh my gosh, there's some sort of murderer on the loose, and I think they think it's Finnick. And Idra's like, what? That can't be Finnick. Well, actually, I did see him leave in quite a bit of a hurry. He was odd, actually. He just took right off. Yeah, I know how goblins are. You can't trust them if you can't see them. Maybe it was Finnick. Maybe that bloodthirsty rage that waits inside all of them overcame him, and he saw Bort as a convenient option because it's not somebody from town who's managed to win him over through our constant befriending. We're all so nice to him all the time, but who knows? Maybe Bort is less civilized. And Amora's like, that could be it. That could definitely be it. We haven't had gossip like this in town in so long. I knew I just had to come and find you and tell you all about it.
So, quick question. You said, okay, so it was Amora who went in there. Who is she talking to again?
She's talking to Idra.
Idra.
Idra lives at the feed mill and is just somebody who takes care of the animals.
I look at Gish.
And Gish is holding a flask in his hand that looks like it's got some pretty strong chemical reagents and thinking pretty hard about whether he's going to throw it through the window or not. I don't think
Delicia just kind of like shakes her head.
I don't like these people.
No.
These people, Delicia, I don't like these people.
I don't like them either. This whole place is just upside down, backwards, topsy-turvy. But, I mean, I don't know. I don't think Gish did it. I mean, but...
That's me, so I didn't. I definitely
Wait, no,
didn't
I'm
do
sorry.
it.
Finnick.
You
all look alike.
Delicia's super not racist. I mean, Finnick running out of there over the slightest smallest little thing seems pretty normal from what we know about him. But, I mean, I don't know. I think he's definitely, since he was the person who wound up delivering it, he might have more information.
Maybe we should try that towel thing that Mornar was talking about earlier.
You see, you try that, and they'll tell you whatever they want. Whatever you want them to tell you. So you can get a lot of false positives. You know about those, right? Being a doctor and everything.
Of course, I know all about that. Okay, so what do we want to do? We could. I don't really know where the other two went, but
I mean, they might be back at the feed mill. Let's head back over there, see if we can't meet back up with them.
Okay, you begin to head back that way, and jumping back to Jean and Mornar, you two head towards the barn. You get to the barn, and let's see here. You don't see Finnick, at least not immediately. What are you looking for in particular? Just it's Finnick here and then moving on, or what you doing?
Me, I'm looking for Finnick or any clues to A, where he might be, or anything related to, maybe there's a piece of paper with a note, saying kill this person, things like that.
That's interesting. Okay. So how about you roll me a investigation or
Ooh,
perception if you don't have investigation.
Jesus, I am rolling fucking hot right now. Investigation. Seeing if there is one. I don't see an investigation stat. So perception is 22 again.
22. Okay. You find a vial, a green vial, and we'll go ahead and say that there's a skull on it.
Hey,
And
that's poison.
as you grab it, you can smell that same floral scent coming up out of the vial. It's sitting just outside the barn doors.
I pick it up. I look at Jean and I go, it almost seems too easy that it would be conveniently at this place, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's being set up.
Hmm.
But we need to talk to him to find out.
And he's clearly not here.
Let's see here.
Finnick!
No, he is not there. Looking around, you see that there is a little sort of nest in one of the smaller stalls where the pigs are, and it's got some little scraps of reading material there, just like a scroll or two, stories about like princesses or heroes and things, just really children's stories. But the fact that anybody could read them in this back ass middle of nowhere town would be somewhat impressive at all. You would suspect that that's where Finnick sleeps when he sleeps here.
I'm going to leave a note there.
Okay.
Basically, like a come find me type note, like kind of like a feeling of that I know he's innocent without outright saying it in case someone else finds it and can read it.
Okay. So
you think he can read?
I do not know, but it's worth a shot, right?
Yeah.
At about this point, you see Delicia and Dr. Gish headed back. They're only just across the way. The barn's right there next to the inn. And you guys all group back up.
So I
Okay.
believe we found the poison
Where?
at the barn in which Finnick sleeps. However, I do not believe he is the one who poisoned this person.
Because he's too dumb because he's a goblin, or
It just does
is that
not
what-
make
is that what you're
sense.
saying?
It does not make sense to me that he'd be the one to do it. What does he care about this person that dies?
Yeah.
I believe it is a setup. He is an easy target, yes.
A pretty easy scapegoat, I would assume, as well, yes. In this case, who would benefit the most from Bort dying?
I do not know, for I do not know these people.
Whoever's taking over the caravan.
Hmm. It's definitely possible that it could have been her, but I mean,
Should we get a towel and a bucket of water
I like that. I like that idea.
and go talk to her?
We could go talk to the cook too. I think she might know more and use the towel. That was my idea. Delicia didn't seem to like it, but
I know about it, but I don't know how to do it. Delicia lies.
Don't worry, I have done it many times.
At this, you guys have the option of questioning people as the sheriff sends them out after he's done questioning them, depending on how much you trust his ability to question. You can go track down other people in town to try and see if anybody saw Bort. Or you can, of course, go back to the caravan and try and find out if Tamley may have been involved or anyone else in the caravan.
We want to stick together or split up again? I'm thinking I might go check out the kitchen, see if there's any kind of clues there for where Fennec might have gone.
I think for sure we need to question what's her name, Tamley? Is that
Yeah,
what it is? I think
Tamley.
we need to question Tamley, and we definitely need to track down Finnick.
Yeah, I'll go question.
You're going to go question Tamley?
Yeah.
Same groups then, Mornar
Okay.
and Jean to Tamley and Delicia and Gish to further investigate the kitchen.
Yes. I
Okay.
think, yeah.
I lift my arms again to see if Delicia will carry me.
Uppy.
I also want to probably note that as Delicia, as the other two leave, Delicia looks down and sees that the bucket and Rag are gone.
Well, she's a half orc, right?
Tamley is.
I don't think the
Tamley's
two of
a
us
half
could.
orc.
I don't think the two of us could waterboard her.
From a DM's perspective, I would not try.
Yeah, she's way too big. Like a half elf and a human trying to fucking waterboard a half orc. Get her brain smashed in.
So you guys head off towards that. It's a quick trip for Delicia and Gish to get back into the kitchen. And you find the sheriff again. He's talking to one of the farmers, and he says, "Okay, and did you touch the food?" And he goes, "No, I was drinking. You know me, Rolf. I just like to come in here and unwind." And he's like, "But did you touch the food for some reason?" And the farmer's like, "No, I didn't." And he goes, "Okay, that makes sense. You can go." And then he asks the next guy, "Did you touch the food?" And you're quickly in the kitchen and out of earshot of his just idiotic method of interrogation. In the kitchen, roll me. What do you have like investigation?
Perception, and then I have lore legal, which I don't know if that would.
I think
Or survival.
Gish might have a good lore for this.
Ooh.
I don't think I took a good one for this.
Is there a nature?
Yeah, there's a nature.
Okay. That would be, so I guess roll it, and I won't, if it's bad, then you won't pick up on anything, but if it's good, then we can advance this investigation a little.
Mine's not good. 5.
Yeah, you guys continue to pick through the kitchen. If you can tell me something specific that you're looking at, and then I can maybe let you roll again, but you don't get any freebies now.
I'm kind of treating this almost like one of my bounty hunting type jobs, and so I'm trying to see if there's like any tracks or any sign of like other than I guess there would be a lot of tracks of a goblin running out the back door as fast as he possibly can because he's terrified for his life. Pretty normal occurrence here, I imagine. But are there any signs that I'm seeing? And also, did the other guys mention about the crawl space?
No, they didn't tell you about that.
Okay. Then I don't know about that part. But can I make a nature check?
You can make a nature check, yeah. Specifically because you mentioned the tracks.
Nat 20.
Oh, I thought you got another nat 1, and I was going to be
Nat
so
20.
disappointed.
Unnatural 21. So.
Thank God. Okay, nat 20. Looking at the tracks that Finnick leaves behind, there is a bit of a rut, actually, worn into the stone from where he peels out and runs off all the time. Like you said, he's a skittish dude. Plus, everybody here treats him like garbage, so why wouldn't he run? Looking at the tracks, there are some interesting plants sort of worn into them from where his little, you can't quite call them shoes, they're more just linen wraps around his feet, have sort of ground different things that have been on the bottom of his feet into the ground. Looking at them, you notice there are a lot of little pink and purple speckling that look like were probably flower petals. And the only place that you saw any pink and purple flowers was way in the north of town. You saw that when you guys were looping around before you came into town. And that's the only place that those pink and purple flowers are. So it tells you at least Finnick is there regularly.
Gotcha. That direction from when we were following Amora earlier, was that also north, or?
Let me see here. Amara was in the orchard, and I've got the map behind my head, but it's really hard to read. No, she was headed towards the orchard, which is west.
Okay, and the caravan is from where we are, like right outside, or?
We're gonna say the caravan is right. Yeah, it's wrapped right around the eastern edge of town, so it's not far from the feed mill. Maybe a quarter mile.
Is it near the shrine?
The plague stone?
No, the old shrine.
Old shrine. Oh no. Old shrine is farther out. You're on the inside of those little farm fields is where the caravan is.
Okay.
So between the feed mill and that field, the shrine's way out on the edge of the town.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to point out the flower petals to Gish and be like, Gish, I'm seeing that we've got a bit of a track going on here. These flowers look pretty unique. I think we noticed them when we came in from the north side of town while we were taking a look around. I think we could try to maybe take a look around up there.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And while you're figuring that out, Jean and Mornar, you get quickly to the caravan. And you go to Tamley?
Yep.
You find Tamley drunk off her ass, sitting against a wagon. You don't need to roll perception to see the tears and puffy eyes. She is unbelievably upset, inconsolable, sobbing, sitting in her wagon. You can see there are marks where she's punched through the tarp on the side of the wagon in anger. Her weapons are all embedded into the wood inside of the wagon. She's very upset. And when she sees you, she's trying to catch her breath. And waves you towards her.
Yeah, go up to her.
She's probably bad timing.
She dries her eyes. I suppose you are worried about your contracts. You don't have to worry. I'm keeping everything the board did.
We are not so worried about contract as we are about who might have done this. Do you have any idea?
She looks up, her eyes bleary and just almost bloody red. And she blinks and she goes, "There's no reason for anyone to do this. Bort was more than just a merchant to the people in this caravan. I know you've only known him for a few weeks, but he was more than our boss. He was our friend. For many of us, he saved us from lives of poverty and brought us into a world of adventure and stories. It wasn't always safe, but he always made it feel like home."
Do you know if there is perhaps someone else who might want to kill him? Maybe someone whose contracts he constantly gets?
She thinks and she goes, I don't know. I never went through the books. I managed the people, not the contracts. I guess there's some chance that somebody in town was unhappy. If you want to go through his books and see if there's anything suspicious in there, I wouldn't mind. I honestly, that sheriff's a fool. He's a moron.
He's real dumb.
But
Do
I'd
you
be an
know-
even greater fool to think that I could figure it out on my own. I don't have the mind for it. I've got a mind for running a caravan.
Did Bort have a journal of any sort?
He had ledgers, and he scribbled notes in those.
Can you show me where he kept these?
She nods and takes you up to his wagon and drags out a chest. And inside the wagon is all sorts of interesting stuff. So you've never seen the inside of Bort's wagon before. He normally keeps it pretty closed off. There are various knickknacks and keepsakes from his many journeys across the continent. There's a bottle with a small skull in it, a taxidermied dragon whelp that's mounted on the wall, a mummified owlbear paw, a crystal that, no matter which way you look at it, projects a illusion of a mountain peak on a nearby wall. And there's a bunch of little magic trinkets that Tamley quickly sort of pushes to the side, and she says, I'm not saying that you would take any of this, but please don't. This stuff needs to go back to his family. It's his. And she gestures to the chest and pulls out a key, and inside are his books. There's a bunch of books here, and it will take time to get through them.
I'm just gonna start reading, like, not like the books themselves, but relevancy, right? I'm not gonna open a book about fucking recipes and shit.
Does one of you have the society skill?
Oh, that is a skill.
I have +1.
Seems like you're
Society,
untrained.
I have +1.
Well, roll me society.
God,
That's a 5.
oh god, that sounds about right. That's a 4.
This is some girl with the dragon tattoo level stuff going on right here.
This is some, you're going to spend the next 4 hours digging through books if you want information.
Well, I'm like half-assing it too, because I am
I don't
not
actually
happy about
care.
reading shit.
I don't actually care about solving it so much as just trying to move this along. And if it's gonna take me 4 fucking hours, I'm gonna find a different route.
Well, you don't know how long it's going to take you, but I'm telling you that's how long your character would spend before something would happen.
Yeah.
So it's probably going to be about an hour before I'm giving up.
Again, I don't know, I'm gonna spend the first like 10 minutes looking at titles of books, and I'm gonna just throw unimportant shit behind me.
Okay.
And until I find something I think might be important, even if it's not. With a 4, I can't imagine.
Each of you roll me a D100 for luck. We'll see if we can't have you stumble into more useful information.
51.
78.
78. Okay. You find a specific series of ledgers, one for each year. And you look at the oldest one and the most recent one, just as a method of triangulation here. And you notice, of course, there's different stuff each year in the ledgers, but specifically in Etrin's Folly, the most recent year, there is a huge sum of gold for quote unquote reagents, is all it says. But it's like 2,000 gold. and going to H is what it says. So this has already been delivered. That was one of the things that Bort did right off the bat when you arrived. But other than that, you don't know how long this has been part of it, the thing. You know it wasn't there 22 years ago when he started, but it was this most recent year.
Is it just Gene and I that in there right now?
Yeah. Tamley's just watching you to make sure that you don't steal anything.
I'm just gonna like kind of look at Gene and kind of whisper like, do we actually care who did this? Like, if they pin it on Finnick, like, how much do you care about any of this?
Well, he was a good dude, so a little bit, but not that much.
Yeah,
Mostly want to just leave.
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. Fuck, moral dilemma here. Moral dilemma.
Oh, you need to go through some character growth.
I guess though we should stop the murderer.
Fuck. Okay.
So are you going to continue to dig into that particular avenue, or is that enough that you're like, whatever, moving on?
Did you tell me about H?
Yeah, I tell you everything that I discovered.
All right. I can ask Tamley if she knows anything about who H is.
She goes, H.
Or who he delivered to right when we got here.
H. Well, I do know that's the main one. Last few years, as soon as we get here, he has a specific delivery of I don't actually know what it is that he delivers to somebody. I've never thought to ask. I just know that Bort
Voice got really deep.
There it is.
I just know that Bort delivers the crate of it's glass stuff. I don't know what's in it, but I definitely heard clinking. So something made of glass is going to this H person. I think he was headed towards the north side of town, but I'm not totally sure.
And how long have you been in service to Bort?
Oh, probably 15 years.
And in that time, you have never heard or seen him complain about a particular rival? Maybe any fights that have happened between you and another group, or?
No, I've never heard any complaints. Really, if he had any complaints, he'd be hesitant to share them anyway. He likes to pretend that he's the world's greatest negotiator. And she smiles, sort of in spite of herself. He kind of was.
Okay. And if perhaps you were to die today too, who would take over for you? Is there anyone in this caravan you would think would try to murder you?
She thinks for a second. She's like, maybe Cookie. And she's like, I hate to imagine a world where he's taken over. I don't know that he'd even want it. Maybe Ulf and Ulf, but those two screw around way too much. No, I suspect if I was to die, this caravan would just split apart.
I see. And I'm contemplating whether or not I want to fucking keep going through this stupid chest. Or if I just want to go start beating people up in town to get answers.
Yeah. I'm done reading through books.
So I think that we can agree that maybe we find a different method of investigation.
We go north to wherever he delivered. And
North,
beat
huh?
those people up.
I think we head back to town and maybe turn up the heat of our investigation, if you know what I mean. Someone in town knows.
And
Okay.
we'll cut back to Delicia and Dr. Gish. You guys are headed up north, and you quickly get to where you can see the flowers. There's a little shack, just barely held together. The wood is grayed and warped. It looks like it's on its probably its last few years before it disintegrates entirely. But you can see smoke coming up out of a chimney on the sides. Somebody's in there.
I motion to it. I motion to Dr. Gish, and I'm just like, there's someone in there. I'm gonna like crouch all the way down, go from being like 6 foot whatever down to just like head level with him.
How far are we from it?
We'll say you guys are like 300 yards from it.
Why are we whispering if it's very far away, Delicia?
I mean, you never know who's in there. Could be someone with really good hearing. Could be, like an owl person or something. Like, you never know. I could be in there. I can hear real good.
You could. I mean, I feel like you will be soon, right?
I mean, hopefully. I don't know. We'll see. This might be a dead end. You never really can tell with these things. How do we want to play this? Do you want to try to go at the front door, see what's what, and I can try to check if there's another exit that someone could leave through?
Yeah, maybe like take a walk around the place quietly first and see what's around. See if there's 2 doors. There might not be any doors because it looks dilapidated.
Dilapidated.
Mm-hmm.
Dilapidated.
How close do you guys get before you start stealthing?
300 yards.
Yeah, apparently.
I don't know. Part of me thinks 50 yards, maybe. Not even that. Well, without out of normal earshot for a person.
Gish, same for you?
Yeah. I'll just follow Delicia's lead on this since we were being quiet very early.
Roll me some stealth checks once you get up closer to the house.
Ooh, 23.
I got a 14.
The smoke seems to stop.
That's not good.
No, I can't say that it is. Did we get to any other side of the shack, or
are you guys looping around together, or did you split up?
I think which would we have done?
I didn't plan to split up.
Oh yeah. I don't think it'd be a good idea for us to split up.
Okay. You made it all the way to the back side of the shack, and you can see that there's a sort of a window right there that's boarded up on the back. Also, now that you're a little closer, you can see that all around the shack are little spots. It looks like a dog has sort of dug his way under the wall up inside, multiple different places. You're not sure why. Maybe the door's stuck shut. Who knows?
Is that what an owl person does?
I don't know. I haven't ever encountered an owl person before, and I mean, I've been around the block a little bit. Let's see if we can't get up there. So whoever's in there wound up shutting off their fire. They turned it off because that's what you do with fire. I'm going to suggest that we stealth up to the window, if nothing else.
Okay. You can smell maybe like a sausage or something coming from inside, but you don't hear anything.
We didn't hear the door open or anything as well.
Roll me perception.
Total 15.
15. You heard some sort of like scratching sounds. I don't know how clearly that came through. Maybe more like
Ooh, ASMR.
But that was when you were approaching, not now that you're up against it. It's just dead quiet. Your own breath is the loudest thing you hear. It sounds deafening in your ears.
We should just try to go in. They probably left.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'm gonna go ahead and roll just for like an idea on my end. Okay. Delicia's gonna run around the front, eschewing stealth, and get to the front door and get ready to kick it in.
Okay.
Does it look like I can fit into the holes that have been dug?
Easily.
I'm going to try to go in one of those.
They appear to be goblin-shaped holes. Okay, so you're prepared to go in. You waiting for the sound of a door being kicked in?
Yeah.
Roll me athletics, Delicia.
Non-natural 20.
Okay, the door is kicked in, and it just splinters to bits. It's dry, crumbly wood that's just been sort of nailed in place with some old, shitty nails stolen from a barn. And you get in there, and you both look around, and you can see there's a half-eaten plate of rashers and hash browns, and it's sitting in a crack that stares out directly to the road that you guys had walked up on. Somebody had watched you approach. Looking out there, you hear the sound of scrambling about 300 yards off, and with Delicia's hearing from inside the shack, you can tell somebody is running down the path where you just came from. You suspect Finnick.
Well, I'm gonna look at Gish and be like, we're gonna chase him, right? That's what we want to do.
We could finish these hash browns. I remember you had a...
On close inspection, they're hash bugs.
Definitely goblin food. I mean, I think. I don't know. I don't really know too much what you guys like eating around here. Anyways,
you chase. I'll go as fast as I can, but I think I'll slow you down if you carry me again. I left my dog at the caravan.
I grab him with both arms and lift him up into the air and just go running out the door with Gish tucked under one arm.
Okay. The two of you are sprinting after it. Jean and Mornar are in the midst of town looking for somebody to beat until they get answers. And that is where we will end episode 3 of the Drunken Arcanauts Golarion campaign. The party is pursuing every avenue available as long as it's the avenues they want to pursue. Thank you for listening, and join us next time. Goodbye.